Good evening. I am Frangina Johnson, and I'm bringing to you the voice behind the artist. And today we are going to have an interview with Joe Wade from Texas, and he's a graphic artist. And so I want to thank you for joining us today. And I would like to read a little bit about Mr. Wade. Joe Wade, he's a 68-year-old retiree who was born in Leland, Mississippi. His family migrated to Columbus, Ohio when he was age 6. He then attended West High School. He was an athlete playing football in high school and earned a football scholarship to Western Michigan University and left Ohio to attend college. Upon completion of college, he was granted the opportunity to continue his football career playing with the Memphis Southmen Grizzlies, where he played with former NFL greats Paul Warfield, Jim Kick, Danny White, and Larry Zonka. Unfortunately, his career was cut short 3 games into the season due to an injury. He returned to Detroit and joined his family and started teaching at an elementary school. After 2 years, he was able to teach and coach as an assistant coach in football, working with running backs and receivers. He was also a coach for the girls volleyball team at Kettering High School in Detroit. He enjoyed very successful winning seasons, both teams from 1979 until 1983. In 1983, Joe changed careers and began working for the Department of Corrections and retired in 2008. He then relocated to Dallas, Texas, where he's living now. Good evening, Mr. Joe Wade.
Good evening, Frangina. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Glad that you can join me this evening. So, I read a little bit about you. Tell us about how you got into art. When did you start? How did it get you to the point that you are now? And the type of work that you do with your uh, art.
Okay. Well, Fran, art for me, it was a natural ability. I learned at a very early age that I had this particular skill and talent. And in trying to keep up with that talent, every time someone put a piece of paper or something in front of me, I would be creative. I would do something artistic with it. And they discovered that, and they said, "Well, this kid has a natural knack for art," and I always stuck with it, and I've been doing it ever since, pretty much. You know, so that's it. That's the way I discovered it as a young kid. Just by having a knack of every time something was in front of me that was plain, I put something on it. That was it.
So, you had a natural gift and a natural talent.
Right. Uh, don't know where it came from because my mother nor my father had any kind of skills like that. But I was just gifted that way, and I enjoyed it.
So, what made you decide to want to do this as a career now?
Well, in actuality, when throughout my high school career, I wanted to explore things a little bit more and get a little bit more in depth. As I grew older, I learned more about art and all of the other things that art involved. So, I was involved in painting, sculpture, wood sculpture, stuff like that. So as I got into higher grades, there was more access to art materials. You know, Elementary school you didn't have much, but when you got it in the higher grades, you had different things, and you had an opportunity to be a little bit more creative. So as time went on, I just, hey, high school, I involved myself in art classes, got into school competitions and city competitions, and won a few, placed a few, with products that I had produced, you know. In high school, I seemed to have a better knack for painting and drawing, but sculpture in high school was my favorite. But my knack at that time was painting and drawing. But I just grew from there. And as when I went on to college, I carried everything with me. And I decided, well, what am I going to do when you're a freshman going to college? You don't really know what it is that you're going to be wanting to do once you graduate. You have that degree. Well, what is this degree going to be in? What am I going to do? And you're in, as a freshman, you're in somewhat of a little dilemma because you don't know. Well, I said, well, okay, this freshman year, what I'm going to do is stick with what I've been doing. So I enrolled and I got into art classes and art history and all of that. I thought it was just going to be participating in just the actual part of developing and creating art, but it was a lot of book study that went along with it also. So I ended up with a degree in fine arts and also a minor in sociology. So there it is. That was the career that was set for me. In actuality, my dream was to be a professional football player. That's what I had trained for the most of my life as far as an athlete was concerned. But those are one in a million dreams that way. So when my football career didn't didn't come out or file out the way that I thought that it might have, then I had to fall back on some other things. So in actuality, I come from a family of teachers and preachers. So I ended up teaching. So I ended up teaching art in an elementary school, and there was some former football players that I played with and against. They found out that I was in Detroit, so they wanted me to assist in some coaching. So I ended up in a high school coaching. And from that point, when you go into the work world, uh, sometimes you leave some other things behind. And my art sort of got caught up in it in order for me to be able to feed a family and make ends meet and all those kinds of things. So it wasn't that much of a priority to me anymore. So I lost contact with some of my art skills and whatever, you know. Uh, when I left Detroit in 2010, and I came here to Dallas. My daughters were here. I have a daughter that graduated from SMU, and another daughter that graduated from Michigan State, and they wanted to live together in Texas. So they were here. And when I decided that I was going to move out of Detroit, they begged me to come down here. So I ended up down here, got a place. Uh, it's kind of boring. Upon my retirement, you start looking for some things. Being an active person, you start looking for some things to do. And I took a part-time job with UPS. Well, UPS is a job for young fellas. it wasn't it wasn't a lot of fun. It was okay. It kept me in pretty good shape and kept me busy. But I was getting tired of that, and in the evening I worked during the early portion of the day, and I would get home about midday or so, about 2 or 3 o'clock. Uh, then there wasn't anything to do. So I delved back into my art. That's always been something, when you're sitting around. You have time on your hand. I got back into my art. I started painting. Uh, and I found myself, I wasn't too happy with my creative prowess at that time. I was looking at my work and it just didn't compare to what I was able to do back in high school. So I said, well, this is something that I've always done. I love it. I gotta try to do better at it. I have to get back to a certain point. So I started painting and painting, and I still wasn't happy with my performance and the product that I was churning out. So I said, well, you know, they say practice makes perfect. Start back at the beginning. So I started working on my drawing and sketching technique. And I got locked into that, and I'm still locked into that. I really enjoy working with black and white right now. Nothing, graphite, pencil, charcoal, those kinds of things. I left the paint alone for a minute until I could get my hand retrained to have those sharper skills again. So I started working in black and white, doing little sketches, and I took sketches on up into full-fledged, art pieces. And that's what I'm doing now. That's a technique. I mastered the technique. I have a technique of using heavy, it's either heavy graphite, heavy charcoal, or whatever. And I've learned to move it around fairly well to where it takes on somewhat of an appearance of color sometimes. You can look at it as pure black and white, white paper, black. I have black pencil, charcoal, what have you. But there's a wide array and a wide range of gray, from black to grays to white in there. And I somewhat mastered the technique of using those to somewhat emulate color. Sometimes I look at it and I can actually see what color this drawing or this piece should be. So since then, I've been locked in. I think that's approximately, it's about 4 years now I've been doing just black and white. Every now and then I do some color. I might do a little abstract or something like that. But my favorite and the best product that I put out right now is a drawing, a black and white drawing.
Okay, well, that's really good. So, why don't you? I've seen your work. Let the people see what you do. So, can you? Let's start looking at a few of your paintings, and then we can talk as we go along.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so the first one that you would like to show us is.
This is an Egyptian with Inca here. And this is not, the only drawn portion on this is the white area that you're looking at. The rest of it is paint. Again, it's that black and white structure that I'm
Can you
used to.
bring it up just a little closer so we can see the young?
Yes, I think I can do that.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. So this piece, I was still tinkering with the paint just a little bit. And then white chalk was what I was drawing with then. So this piece I was rather fond of, and it is nothing in it. It's three colors in it: black, white, and gold. That's it. And I love the piece. It speaks to me because of the fact that there's some kind of there's some discrepancies in who Egyptians were. So this is my depiction.
Okay.
Hmm.
The next one.
Yes, ma'am. This drawing here, this is a young musician, Michelle uh, Aducello, something similar to that. It's hard for me to say the name,
Indigiocello.
you know.
Indigiocello. That's
Yeah.
Michelle. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I butchered it, but that's who this is. And I was intrigued with her, and I, I saw this image with all these fold creases and wrinkles in it as far as design. I looked at it as, here it is. This is a form, and I love working with the black form anyway. Uh, black and white again, and black people. Love doing black people. So that's one of that's my forte. So anyway, I produced this, and I'm rather proud of it. I like her, and I like the way that this design laid out. So that's one of my better products.
Okay.
Okay. This this picture here, this is Miss Nina Simone.
All right.
Uh, 3 stages of Nina Simone, and she was one of my favorite artists. Which I used to love this song that she did, Mississippi Goddamn. I
All right.
don't know if you heard it.
I
More
heard
than
it.
likely, you probably have, yeah. But Nina, I wanted to depict Nina at all 3 stages, in 3 stages of her life. So here it is in black and white. Now this here. This is all #2 pencil.
That's all pencil.
This is all pencil. You know,
That's
No-
amazing. That
yeah,
is.
yeah, that is all pencil. And this is earlier work. I think this is 2017 work here. I'm gonna have to start dating all of my stuff, but I think this is
Well,
2000.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Don't take it down yet. So when you're using pencil,
Yes, ma'am.
how are you able to take that's a #2 pencil that you use?
#2 pencil.
So how are you able to do that and create the
Okay.
shadows and to create the lines? And I mean, like, do you press
Yeah,
harder in
it's
one
it's
place
a
and lightly
technique.
in another?
You're
Go
somewhat
ahead.
layering. You're layering the lead to a degree.
Okay.
So if I keep rubbing over a certain spot, it's going to get a little bit darker and a little bit darker. But sometimes, depending on the material that you're working on, if you're working on canvas or something, you probably don't have much of a problem. But when you're working on paper or board or something like that, sometimes you can destroy that with that with that piece that you're working with. But most of the time, if I put some lead on this white paper, and I can keep layering it until I get it to the desired density that I want it to be. And that I don't want, I use a rub technique to move around, to move it from the darker to light. So you use a rub technique.
All right. Well, let's look at another one.
Okay. This is 2 African young girls here. Love this piece.
Okay.
You
Can
know,
you turn the camera around? Because right now we just see one woman.
you
And
see
so you
one.
need to, yeah, we only see
Okay.
one. So turn it a little bit to your right.
There
Okay, okay, there you go.
Okay. Now,
Good.
this piece is one of those pieces we talking about. We talked about layering. This is
Yeah.
another #2 pencil. Okay. and it's layered. Okay. The lead is layered on here as thick as I can do it. I can put it on here without it coming off with too much of a gloss to it or any of that. So yes, it's layered and then rubbed into the shading of different areas, you know, to bring forth everything that I need. You know, all the shapes, crevices, cracks. If you look at the eyes, I look at the eyes right now and I can swear those eyes are brown. But that's just the way I see my work. You know, I work it to a point to where I can imagine and what I put on paper, I can imagine it being in color.
So let me, okay, so my next question would be, when you're most of the work that I've seen thus far, it's just images, there is no background. Is there a reason for that?
Yes,
What's the reason?
for me, I committed myself to doing, as you can see, I'm committed to mostly images, you know, human forms. Uh, Most of these are not the full body, but most of them are like sort of like portrait, like, you know, it's the torsos of human, and they're black people. So I have a thing about a love for the range of color of black people. When you look at it, there's a wide array and a wide range of color when we start talking about people of color. So, uh, as far as the background is concerned, the image that I want to stand out and to catch attention doesn't need to be interrupted by a background. In some pictures, yes, background would be advantageous and it would help in certain pieces, but certain other pieces you don't feel like. I just don't feel like that it's necessary if I want to put forth this image in front of.
Okay, and so then the next question would be, when you're going through this process, um, is it the process, because there's so much layering, there's so much technique involved, detailed shadowing? Do you enjoy the process of getting to the finished product, or do you enjoy the process and the finished product equally? I mean, which is more rewarding to you, the process and then looking at it and saying, through the process that I've gone through, I've created this and I love the process? Or is both of them as equally rewarding to you?
I would say that they're both about equal because of the fact that I know that if I do this, if I keep working at this, I'm going to get it right. And if it's not right, it's not going to look right. It's not going to make the desired even shape, form, or figure that I want on the paper. So the the you have to have a patience in dealing uh, with pencil. These are large drawings here, so there's a lot of area to cover, and you have to be somewhat repetitious in things in techniques that you use. So that's just it. So the process, hey, to get to a desired look, you have to have some patience, and you have to love that process of getting it there. You got to take your time. You got to use proper skills, and sometimes you can make one wrong line or one scrape someplace that throws a whole shape or a whole piece of a product off. So you have to sort of repetitious, patient, and skillful with your whatever tool.
Okay, you're muted. Did you hit a button? You need to unmute yourself. Joe, you need to unmute yourself. Okay, there you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Are
As
we
you were
finishing?
saying,
Okay, but like I was saying, I would say that it's the process and the finished product, that I enjoy.
okay.
I know it's not going to right to me. I'm not going to be satisfied unless I put the time in the process. That's it. So it would be both. It's a balance for me.
All right. Well, let's see the next one.
Okay. Now, this is a current piece. This piece was just done, I think, about a month ago. And it, again, it's 3 African women, two not so happy, and one. I'm so intrigued by this piece because when you look at it, she's looking right at you. This was a depiction of 3 slave women at market. So, couple have a look. One doesn't want to see anything. One might peek a little bit, but the other is looking right at you, and she's in the background. So, and with this picture, if you can see it, I don't know. I hope you can see it well enough. There is color in this. Her eye is brown, but everything else in here. Now, this was pencil and graphite, and just a dab of acrylic paint. It's a beautiful piece. It's a large piece, and I like it large like this, but it's a beautiful piece, and it speaks to me. Again, I'm looking at the people that I love, heritage that I love, and everything else, and I'm looking at 3 different looks of a Black woman.
Well, I love that piece right there. So anybody that can see that piece, when I look at that piece, sometimes I think about the Passion of Christ, and the women that were standing there just before he was getting crucified. That reminds me.
That figure that was moving
Yeah,
around in the back.
right. That when I see that's what comes to me. But that piece right there, that piece almost is just like it's speaking. It speaks to me. So the work that you do with pencil and graphite, it's amazing. And I don't, I'm so glad that I'm allowing this platform to be able to bring people who most people are not aware of in art and in the nation, to get a chance to meet you and know who you are, so that people can start recognizing your work.
Well,
Can
I
we go
want
to
you
the
to know
next one? Huh?
it's greatly appreciated. Hey, I'm glad for you having me here. Now
Oh, you are so.
this,
You know my name for this one, right?
this right here. Now I was to a degree, I was feeling some kind of way. This was in between the Aubrey murder and the young lady, but I can't call her name right now. But this piece came to me. I noticed a form that I wanted to use, and then with everything else that was going on in society at that time, when Aubrey was hunted down and murdered, it made me feel some kind of way. And I figured, I thought about, I said, I wonder if the young man has a woman, he has a girlfriend, or whatever the case, a wife, or whatever it happens to be. I'm wondering how she's feeling. Thus, this picture. So here it is, this young lady. she's out doing some hunting of her own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you also use your art to influence political, social, religious, and environmental views of what's going on in
Well,
the world?
I don't know about influence, but I do use my art to speak to certain situations. Uh, Now, as far as getting too political, well, sometimes I do. I must admit, I do. But putting it in my work hadn't been a habit. But like I said, this just spoke to me. I, I I was just feeling some kind of way, and I had to do this. When I had done the figure of her and all of that, and then I said, well, no, no. This kid got hunted down. They chased him down, hunted him down. This, that, and the other. Somebody else needs to be hunted. That's the way I felt.
So
So
now,
I just,
go ahead.
huh?
I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead, finish.
Okay. But that's just the way I felt about this piece. So
Is that
that's the reason that I took it to this extent and added her with a weapon and all of that, and a weapon, a phone. Hey, she's strictly business.
so? Is that an AK-45 on her back?
That's an AR-15.
An AR-15. So when I see that,
That's
I go,
yeah, a semi-automatic weapon. Yes,
that's almost like a normal day for her, because it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I got my mask on. Let me check my
Yeah,
messages, and let me have my little piece on the back just in case I run up against something. And we're
right.
almost at that place right now in
Yeah,
this world. It's very sad to say, but that's
right.
kind of almost
Well,
where we are.
I grew up in an era of the militant and the movements. All the movements, were back then. Civil rights movement. Hey, I grew up through Jim Crow and everything else. So yes, those things are always in the back of my mind. So I guess when you say political, yeah, but I try to stay on the fringe of it because I know that I probably couldn't handle it if I was in the mix. So that's just it. I stay on the fringe, but that's the reason for this piece here. And it's one of my better pieces. Now this piece is both charcoal, graphite, and everything is in here. You can, if when you look at it, you can see rich, darker areas. Where that is, the rich, darker area are areas of charcoal, and it goes from the darker to the light. When it comes to the light, that's pencil. You know. So this here is a three medium piece, but it's flat. It's not a raised medium, but it's charcoal, graphite, and pencil.
Okay, I was going to ask you which mediums did you use. All
Yeah.
right, let's do the next one.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for showing that, because I almost feel like, you know what, that could be me. That could
Okay.
be me. Yes.
Yeah. This is a picture. This was done a couple years ago, 2017, 18, somewhere in that Somali woman, you know, uh, in full guard. And this was a piece that I really put a lot of time into uh, trying to come up with this look. And my skill set has changed a little bit, but with this, I'm very satisfied. This again was one of my best pieces. I was very patient with it, and
Can you bring it in just a
it
little closer?
shows in final product.
Joe, can you bring it in
Huh?
just a little closer so people can see the detail of the work?
Okay, sure. Can you see that a little better?
Yes. Just raise it up a little to the head so we can see the top of her head. You might have to bring it back just a little.
Yeah, I got to bring it back some for that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
So, what were you saying?
Okay. Well, yeah, no, but this is, like I said, it's an older piece. Since this piece, my skill level has gone up a little, but I'm very happy with this piece. This is a favorite piece here. This piece here
Okay, you need
is,
to go to your right
a,
a little bit with the camera.
okay. This is a first responder.
Okay.
I'm doing some sketches for the University of Maryland. Uh, uh, University of Maryland Health Medical Department. And this was one of the pieces that I was producing for them. This is a nurse during COVID, uh, with all the things that are going on with that, the turmoil, the death, everything. First responders were put up under a lot of pressure, and a lot of them fell to COVID themselves. As you can see, she's a little frustrated. She got tears in her eyes. Another touch. It's just a touching piece during that COVID period. Well, which is still going on. So
Absolutely. So, I just thought about something. So, when your pieces that I'm seeing as you go along, it talks about beauty, the ugliness, and the painful side of life. Is that
right.
is that correct? You're showing all of those.
All of that is depicted in whatever the piece that I'm responded piece. Again, that's the pain and the ugliness and the death and everything else depicted in this woman's image. This is another one of my COVID pieces for I'm working on for the University of Maryland. They're trying to ease down and ease back into normal routine. So this was one of the things that people wanted. If you want to go get a haircut, you want to go get your hair done, nails done, this, that, and the other, and all those. This is the way it would have to be, and the way it's depicted here. You know, the barber cutting hair, you got masks, you got gloves, you're donned down to try to resist COVID-19. So this is a piece that I produced for them, and I like it. Now you can see it has a background. This background in here is an African-based background. Most of the things that I do are going to have some cultural connection with it. Also, in the mask, well, this one here is a cow print, and this one here is another African design. This is an African design in the background. So, you know, I stick with, I hate to say black art because I don't just do black art, I do black people and those kinds of things. So it's just not black art. I do all forms of art, but I enjoy my people. So it's not just black art. I hate to say black art. You know, art is art. You know.
Art is art. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa. Okay. This is one more and the last one here. This is also a barbershop depiction of a young man cutting hair in the middle of COVID. Okay. So it's just depicting things that normal, everyday, routine things that are we're going to have to get by or try to come to some kind of normalcy. And I think that's what the University of Maryland is trying to show with certain aspects of these sketches and illustrations that they want from me, that they're going to be connected to different aspects of life in the midst of this COVID situation. So
that's your last piece?
I have a couple of others I'd like to show if you
Okay.
have the time, you know.
Yes, we do. This is all about you.
You know, again, this is a
Okay, we
piece, I
can't do
think I
that.
did this.
You have to move that over on top of the paint print behind the picture behind it. You have to move the picture over to your left. Move. There you go.
Okay. Okay, now this picture, it's a 2016 picture, and it has a little different technique. It has this is #2 pencil again, and this is #2 pencil in here, heavy in the face area, and more lineal in the design of his white garb. This is a Moor, a picture of a Moor. So,
wow, you almost need to write a book with that picture, because a lot of people don't even know who the Moors are.
yeah, well,
Our young people.
they should, because it's a definite historic that they should know.
They should.
They should. Now, this.
All right. You need to either bring the camera down or bring the picture up, so we can get the full length of what you're showing us. Okay. Okay,
now,
that's good.
This is a 2016 picture when I first started really delving into the black and white. And then I said, well, no, now I'm going to do deep black with white shading and add color. This is one of those depictions.
It's beautiful. I love the green.
Yeah. You know, it black brings out everything. And you know, this picture is real simple, but it's a beautiful piece.
She reminds me of the women from the Sudan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. One more. This is another one of my black era, all deep black. This is black acrylic paint, and chalk with an acrylic towel, green towel on it. So this is, again, a 2016 piece. So it's an early black and white piece. So I moved from this to just using the graphite, charcoal, and pencil.
Beautiful.
So those are examples of my work. I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as I do.
Okay. So what has been, in the work that you do, what has been your most touching moment and experience while creating your work?
Well, I've done some, I've done some, you know, I'm a family-oriented man. So, you know, I've done some pictures of my grandkids and whatnot. I didn't have them in this collection here, but those bring a real emotion and a real involvement to me in doing those baby. And right now, the kids are what? The oldest one is 3. The babies are the oldest one is 3, and the other 2 will be 2 in August. So I've been involved in their lives quite a bit. Granddaddy, granddaddy duty is always around. But in depicting them, it just moves me with emotion, just putting them on paper. And other things, I'm moved in most cases, in most things that I do. Like I said, hey, I feel some kind of way. There are things that I will produce simply because it moves me to that point. Like what's going on out here now, with the George Floyd thing. I'm working on a piece now that's going to depict this movement and all this action behind what happened. There's this unfortunate situation with him. Those are things that uh, from the era that I came from, they cut deep. Uh, and they cut deep because I came through those eras and had some contact with some of these things that are going on in our society today. I've gone through hey, I've been pulled over and I've been pulled out of a car, or in a parked car and accosted by a car. All of that has happened to me in my youth, even in my adulthood. But there's a lot of things, a lot of emotion that comes into some of my work. Other things, hey, just for the creativity of it, sometimes I just have some things on my mind and I put it on paper. But most of the time, I'm reacting to something that is the here and the now.
So
yeah.
as an artist, what would you tell your younger self?
As an artist, I would tell my younger self that while I was right now, what I'm doing now, I should have been doing then. Documenting certain things that came along, and a lot of artists did now, because I can remember, like I said, I came through that college era and little militant and all of that. Couldn't be much of a militant because here was I was already under the gun because I was a athlete. Athlete couldn't be involved in a whole lot of militant stuff. But the younger me, I would say, do not deviate from your skill, your talent, and your gift. Never deviate from it, because once you lose it, it's a possibility. It's just gone. Once when you stop using, you take a chance on losing. And this is the reason that I'm here, and my work is going and is still progressing. I'm not where I want to be yet. I'm still moving forward on my art. I'm still picking up skills as I go along. I'm still uh, I'm still trying to regain what I've lost from my high school and college days, as far as my skill level and my gift. So if I was a young man today, I would hold on to what God's gift for me was. And I almost lost it. I almost lost it, but uh, when I came here to Dallas, it's something just told me, listen, it's time. Go back to doing what it is that you loved doing when you were a kid. So here it is. Here I am.
Absolutely.
And like I said, I hope, I hope my my gift is appreciated. I hope people like it, or whatnot. Right now, I'm in a black and white phase, but I'll be out painting pretty soon. But this is my favorite.
Okay, well, I have a couple of more questions, but before we go to those last two questions that I would like to ask you, you have participants on the line. I hope they're still there. Tanisha has said something. She made some comments. Cheryl has made some comments. Jaquay has made some comments and said something. So I would like to open up the floor so we can hear them literally either ask you a question or give a comment. So they can
Okay.
unmute themselves. I would like for them to be unmuted. And right now we have Jaquay. Hi, Jaquay.
Hello,
How you doing?
I'm good.
Hello.
Good. Good. So what would you like to ask Mr. Wade, or do you have a comment, a question or comment, or both?
It was kind of like a comment. I really like the Nina Simone piece, and I was wondering if you did like the 3 phases of Nina as like to symbolize how like what she went through socially, because you know she kind of went through transformations and she kind of struggled a little bit with mental health, or was it just all in her different looks that you chose to do the 3 different Nina Simone?
Well, the 3 different depictions that I have here, they all came from a different era. And true enough, she did have some mental health issues, but she was also socially active. She was involved in a lot of things and socially aware of her surroundings. And a lot of her music picked that up. And that's just the way Nina Simone was. That's one of the things that made her a very great artist. You know, even though she went there, she had some hard times, and she went through some things socially, mentally, and whatnot. But and even politically, she went through some things. But for the most part, those 3 depictions covered those 3 areas. She was in music from the mid 50s on up until the almost 80s, you know, almost. So, and she died when she died of cancer, uh, but she was one hell of an artist.
Thank you. Thank you for the
Hmm.
comment and the question. Is there anyone
You.
else who has a question or a comment? Unmute yourself. Is there anyone else who would like to have a question or a comment? Tanisha, are you still there? Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Okay. Hello. Good evening. I can't hear you. Oh, we can't hear you. Henrique, do you have her muted from the laptop? Hello?
Did you join the audio? Did you join the audio T on the meeting?
Yeah, where it says join the audio at the bottom of the screen, you hit join the audio. Did you do that?
Just type your comment and I'll read it. I'll be your translator.
Oh, listen to who's that speaking, Jaquay?
Yes.
Okay, Tanisha said, okay, I don't see it. Did you see it, Jaquay?
Yes. She says, I have an exclamation point there. And she's typing now, so her comment is coming.
Okay.
But while I wait on her comment, I want to say that these are really good works. And what I noticed in your work is that when it's connected to something that's real, like connected to, you know, this highly emotional time, it really does impact your work. And you can really see, even in the eyes of the people that you're drawing, since you've been working on these since this weird time, you can really see the emotion in your work now that we've got all of this chaos kind of happening.
Tanisha,
Yeah.
we have to come back to you. You're still chatting. Is there some? We'll come right back to you. Is there someone else that has a question or a comment? There was a Cheryl on the line. Cheryl, are you still on the line with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Do you have a question or a comment?
Yes, I do. That's a beautiful work. I didn't even know. See, we knew each other. We're state employees. We were former state employees way back in the day. I draw, and I just found out you, Joe, draw, and your art is fire. Now, I want to know, you just do all that with just number 2 pencil? That's amazing if that's all number 2. I'm tripping.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it, well, that's what I started, right? I started out cheap. So basically, that's why I was with a number 2 pencil, just a number 2 pencil and an eraser, and went from there.
Oh, okay, because I went to school for graphic design, and I had a couple of art classes. I've been drawing ever since I knew how to pick up a pencil anyway. So they taught me how to draw with charcoal, color, gouache, median, and all of that. That's what I use now.
Right.
So that's cool. I really like that.
Well, hey, we're gonna have to get together on some things.
We sure do.
You know, because those medias that you just mentioned are medias that I actually, when I do something in black and white, and I use a wash sometime, a light wash to do, say, like the woman's eye or lipstick on a woman or something like that. Not a whole lot of color, but I use that wash technique to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ought to get together on that one because I want to make something out of that. There was something you posted on Facebook when that guy was talking about how you feel about Trump and something. He had this long poetry and it was so powerful. I got to make some artwork out of that. And I'm going to post it as soon as I'm done.
Okay. Okay.
Tanisha's comment is ready.
Okay, let's, can you read it for us, Jacqueline, please?
Yes, ma'am. Tanisha writes, "It is a true gift to have a vision and be able to translate and transfer that to paper. I've spoken to you when you were not satisfied with your finished product. How do you correct your physical work to match your vision? And how do you have the patience to see it through?"
Well, sometimes when it just isn't turning out right, you have to walk away from it or you have to destroy it. And if you have if you're purposeful, if you really intend to meet that vision, you're going to keep pushing until you push through whatever that drawback is, and get to that point to where you want to be with that particular piece. So, I've erased and torn up paper. I've done all of that, recovered and regessoed, and hey, I've been there with those kinds of things with frustration on certain pieces. But the fact still remains that if you're diligent and you have that vision and you have the persistence at wanting to get it finished, seeing a finished product, you just push your way through it regardless of what you have to do. So not everything, you're not successful every time that you jump out the stall. Sometimes you have to start over. You have to start from scratch, just like anything else. If first you don't succeed, try again. That's basically it.
Are there any more participants that would like to ask Mr. Wade a question or make a comment? Is there anyone else there? I saw another Mr. Wade. I don't know if he would like to say something, if he's still there. Is there anyone else? Okay. Well, the next question that I want to ask you before you go, you answered one. Is there anything else that you would like to mention that I did not ask you?
Well, I think we pretty much touched on a lot of things, but I wanted everybody to know that most of the time when you're in a creative sense, you have to have a love for it because the love comes through in what you produce. And that's just the way it is. You know, if there is a love for it, everybody else is going to see it on whatever you put on paper, sculpture, or whatever. They'll see it.
Well, Mr. Wade, I want to say thank you. I love your work. I love your work, and I believe that you have your emotions tied into it. And the one thing that I really like is that even though you started out with pencil and then you graduated to graphite and then you started doing a little bit of black acrylic, but you love to be able to express yourself in black and white because we live in a black and white world. And that's
Yes,
why
we do.
we're talking about white fragility and all the things that are happening in this political climate that we're in. And so you just allowed a young person who might have said, I really would like to draw, and I don't have any crayons, or I don't have any paints, or I don't have any oils, and it's impossible. Well, you can go to the store and get a number two
Number
pencil,
two pencil.
number two pencil, and you can take it and you can do anything that you see in color, you can do with that pencil. And then as you graduate and are able to do other things, you can. But you decided to stick with it. So another question I have for you, if you had all the money in the world and it was unlimited, would you still produce the kind of art that you're producing today?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I could not be satisfied. Even if I could go buy any piece or any product that I want, it wouldn't be satisfactory because my love for my art didn't produce it. I may want it, I may appreciate it, but it's a difference when your hands create. It's
Okay.
different. So
So
no,
okay.
you know,
Okay,
yeah.
that's good. So now, not only are the people that are on here wanting to know, but there are going to be a lot more people that have not seen this today because this is going to be on to air forever. I am going to put this on YouTube. I am going to put it on Instagram. It's going to be on my page, and then you will get a copy of the interview to use for yourself. So if anybody wants any of your work, whether it be original paints, prints, they want to commission you to do anything, how would they get in touch with you?
Right now, at as we speak, I'm having a page uh, uh, done right now, but it's going to take a while to get it up. But they can contact me through my email, which is WIZADEJ@twc.com, or they can reach me at by phone 313-475-1109.
Okay, so let me repeat that. They can reach you at email WICA,
No, Z as in zebra.
okay, ZIC,
WIZ as
oh,
in zebra.
WIZ, okay, WIZADEJ
ADE,
at
yeah,
WC.com.
at TWC.
Okay, so let me repeat it one more time. It's
Okay.
WIZADEJ at TWC.com, or they can call you at 313-475-1109.
Right.
Okay, Mr. Wade, Mr. Joe Wade, I appreciate you. I thank you. You have an amazing gift. It's been given to you, and I want you to know that sometimes when you've been given a gift and you don't see the gift, but now you've seen the gift and you need to use it to the best of your ability and let the world know who you are and what God has given to you. I thank you for sitting here with me this evening and having a discussion of the voice behind the artist. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for having me, Ms. Johnson. I appreciate
welcome.
you much.
You are welcome. You are
Okay.
so welcome. And everyone that participated and that listened to the interview, thank you for being here and joining us this evening. And you will see me again for another interview with the voice behind the artist next week. And I look forward to that. And hopefully you'll get a chance to see those interviews on YouTube at Frangina A. Johnson, or you can either look up the voice behind the artist and see these interviews. Again, thank you for spending the evening with us, and take care.